What's up, creators and creatrixes? I'm Wicked. I'm giving power back to the people, and you can't stop me. Today we are going to be discussing the 5 elements observed in witchcraft. But before we dive in, go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and click that little bell so that I can help you keep your third eye in the sky. If you're taking notes, don't forget that all of this information is available over on Wicked's virtual grimoire at the Wicked Witch of the Web. With all that being said, let's get started. As you may or may not be aware, the pentacle is frequently associated with the craft, and it is a huge symbol for witches. The pentacle is a 5-pointed star in the middle of a circle, and each of these elements has their own important correspondent. The 5 points represent the 5 elements, and the circle represents the circle of life. In this video, we are going to discuss the specifics of each of these elements. We will begin with the earth element, which is correspondent to the northern direction, and it rules over the physical realm. This is the realm in which our egos and our conscious mind would like us to believe is the only one in existence, but there are tons of energetic realms all around us all the time. It is through these realms that we are able to accomplish different things, and recognizing their presence is part of what allows us to do work in each one of them. The physical realm is where energy moves the slowest. This is because the energy in this realm is incredibly dense, but as such, it also corresponds to things like stability, security, and being grounded. The earth element also corresponds to rebirth, sex, death, all of life, fertility, resources, foundations, animals, and nature. Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn are the earth elements of the zodiac, and each of these zodiacs has all of these qualities within them. Some of them just amplify certain ones as opposed to others. The earth element corresponds to the colors green, black, brown, white, and gold. All of these colors which can be found in nature, making it kind of easy to remember these particular correspondences. The strong and steady element of earth represents, above all else, stability. We live our lives on this planet, but we don't often take the powers of earth seriously until our resources are challenged. It is when we begin to question our stability that we are reminded of the power of earth. Being that we are so accustomed to it and that its energy moves so slowly, it's pretty easy for us to take it for granted. But it is so important to tap into this element when we are working on things like stability, security, and our resources. This is why if you're doing any sort of money workings in the craft, you're going to want to make sure that you have called in the earth element, because it is all about supplying. It's also important to stay mindful of earth energy, because through a process called earthing, we have the ability to ground ourselves. And once we're grounded, we're able to actually channel energy from the earth to utilize in our day-to-day lives or our ritual practices. Earthing is incredibly simple. All you have to do is go stand barefoot on the earth. But you can also put your hands into soil and just sit with the planet for a minute. Doing so can help you regain control of yourself, find your center, and kind of come back to your own inner peace. This is particularly important for daydreamers and creatives to do, or anyone that spends a lot of time with their head in the clouds, because coming back to the physical realm and getting grounded here is how you're going to make things happen for yourself. If you're spending too much time in the clouds, you're going to end up being really detached from your life, and it's going to create a lot of split energies for you. Staying grounded is so important, especially when you're doing any sort of magical workings. The other great thing about Earth is that it offers us abundant healing powers. So being able to tap into that can help you change your own life. It can also help you to heal others, but you're going to want to make sure that you're very well grounded before you do this so that you can remain stable in yourself. It's important to know that Earth relates to the root chakra, which is also responsible for all of these same qualities like resources, stability, providing for oneself, the home, and the hearth. Recognizing that all of these things relate to each other in different ways can really help you as you are working with your own life and your own practices. If you choose to call upon the earth element in ritual, it can be very easy to represent it. All you need is a small bowl or a glass full of dirt. But there are different options for this as well if you feel called to something else. You can use flowers, a plant, a bowl of salt, or a piece of wood to represent the earth element within your sacred circle. Making sure that you have a totem is going to help you to attract and then channel earth energy into your intentions. You may wish to conjure the earth element for numerous reasons because of its creative and life cycle energies. It can accomplish so much through its power, and you can as well when you choose to work with it. Next up, we have the water element, which corresponds with the western direction. And water is all about transformation, fluidity, flexibility, intuition, and emotions. Like I said, there are more than one realm of consciousness, and the emotional realm is its own altogether. Water rules over the emotional realm, and we see this in the tarot through the cup suit. Water is all about transformative, constantly moving energies that ebb and flow, much like emotions do. Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces are the water elements of the zodiac, and all of these zodiacs have their own ever-changing qualities about them. Cancer is known for very intense emotions, and Pisces is known for having sort of a back and forth attitude about things. And I don't necessarily mean this in a bad way, but they have the ability to either have very shallow surface level thoughts or to get very deep with things depending on which way their tide is flowing. Scorpio is also known for those same intense emotions, but they also have this very strong current to them, so they're able to pull and influence others into their feelings as well. It is through the water element that we are able to access flexibility, emotions, and our intuition. Water rules over our inner realm, and as doing so, it is very closely related to the moon. These two entities are all about what is beneath the surface. You don't always see all of it at once, and this energy adds in a little bit of mystery. Water is a very powerful element, but it is often not fully understood because of its ever-changing nature. Now, it's important to note that I mean this as water energetically, not literal water, because on the surface, water is pretty easy to understand. Now, of course, water is vital to our survival as humans, and it is so important for us to stay hydrated, especially when you are doing energy work. But in the craft, water also helps us to connect to our emotions, which helps us understand and gain control of our energetic frequency so that we can control what we attract into our lives. When you're calling upon the water element in your ritual practices, you can use a bowl or a cup of water to represent it. But you can also use certain crystals, colors, or ice to invite the water element in. One of the most important times to conjure the water element is when you are aiming for great transformation. Water has the ability to shape and mold while also helping us to go with the flow so that we can move into the next phase of our lives. Next up, we have fire, which corresponds with the southern direction. And fire is all about passion, purification, cleansing, power, rebirth, and destruction. It is important to note that destruction is only one process of the cycle. Now, as humans, we tend to see things as being very black and white, one or the other, when in reality, all things are basically just two sides of the same coin. So without destruction, we could not have the ability to create new. Sometimes you have to dismantle old things to make way for the new ones, and this can be very threatening to us as humans because we aren't typically fond of change, but it is an important process of life. And so if you find yourself in a state where you want to make changes, you may need to call on the fire element to get rid of anything that's no longer serving you. Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius are the fire elements of the zodiac, and these three have a very intense, passionate energy about them. Fire brings in this sort of single focus. So sometimes when you're dealing with these energies, you may notice this intensity about what you are focused on. But it's also important to note that because fire moves so quickly, it can sometimes leave us a little bit scattered and not always finishing projects. So if you're working with fire energy, it's important to get grounded when you're finished, go back and make sure that you have completed whatever it is that you set out to do. Fire is so powerful, and it is not an energy to be taken for granted. It has the ability to purge and purify and scatter away anything that doesn't resonate with you anymore. But when you invite the destructive element of fire in, you have to make sure that you are ready to deal with it, because it can get a little bit out of control if you aren't staying mindful of it. If you wish to invite fire into your life and into your craft, the easiest way to represent it within your sacred circle is to use a lit candle. But if you can't do that for whatever reason, having candles around, even if they're unlit, can still do this. You can also use herbs like basil or any type of cayenne to add that heat into your intentions. As fire is responsible for passion, it is through our inner fire that we are able to connect with Source and the universe so that our intentions can be heard and hopefully manifested. It is through that same passion that we're also able to find and stay in our alignment so that we can keep working in tandem with the universe. Now, you may choose to call on fire for any number of reasons, but one of the most important things to remember is that fire is particularly potent for any sort of banishing practices. One of my favorite release processes is on a full moon to write down anything that has been troubling me, hassling me, or that I don't want to carry with me into the next cycle, and then burn it away so that that energy can dissipate. Fire is great for getting rid of things, and it can really help you to clear up your inner world. Next, we have air, which corresponds to the eastern direction, and air is all about speed, strength, clarity, higher consciousness, momentum, and just general quickness. Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius are the air signs of the zodiac, and they all have this very heady quality about them. As Gemini is ruled by Mercury, which is ruled by Hermes, the messenger of the gods, it's important to remember that the air element is all about communication and communicating with speed and clarity. Through the air element, we are able to access realms of higher consciousness and truly connect with Source. So it's important to remember that air has these sort of penetrative qualities that can take us into the next dimension. Air is responsible for change and movement. It is through air that energies are scattered and that our intentions are brought to the forefront of the Source. This is how we're able to communicate what it is that we are trying to do. So air is not one to be taken for granted, because without it, our intentions would only stay with us. Air is able to bring in new energies and get rid of old ones. It can also generate a lot of power. So if you are trying to build yourself up, air is a fantastic element to work with. If you're inviting air into your ritual practice, using incense is one of the best ways to do so. But if you can't use incense for whatever reason, you can also use tools like a folding fan, certain types of crystals, or particular candle colors. As air has access to those higher realms of consciousness, it can also bring us a bunch of clarity as well. So if you're meditating, it can be great to bring in some sort of totem of the air element to help you transcend your usual realms of existing and get to new heights so that you can get new clarity. There are a lot of reasons to call upon the air element, but it is always good to invite it into ritual practices so that you can ensure that you have the strength to get your intentions done. Last but certainly not least, we have the element of ether, or source, spirit, God, and this corresponds to all directions, all things, and all energies. Source is correspondent with higher consciousness, infinite intelligence, the collective consciousness, and the higher self. As witches, it's very important for us to pay homage to this particular element, because without the Source, we would not have the creative energies to manifest anything. This is why we recognize 5 elements of life, not just the 4 in the physical realm. This is the bridge between all the different realms of consciousness. It is the Source that generates magic, power, and strength for us as humans to utilize to create whatever it is that we can dream. Without the Source, we would have no craft and nothing to practice with. So that is why it resides at the top of the pinnacle. It is one of the most important elements. Generally, in ritual practices, you might use a crystal or a deity totem to invite the Source in, but selenite is one of the absolute best crystals for this because it has a very natural high vibration. If you aren't in the practice of inviting any elements in at all, this is probably the most important one to start with. This is the one you want to make sure that is always present for whatever it is that you are trying to magically create, so that you have the power to do so. Relationships with non-physical beings and non-physical energies are all about equal give and take, so you want to make sure that you are being grateful for your ability to practice, and there's no better way to do that than to invite the Source in to practice with you. Now that's all I have for this one. Thank you so much for joining me, and make sure to like and subscribe so that I can help you keep your third eye in the sky. Stay blessed and have a wicked day.